Hey, what's up everybody, and welcome back to another episode of News Dose, where I give you all of the latest gaming news. And today we got some brand new gameplay footage running on the PlayStation 5, showcasing new technology, and it looked stunning. To be very clear though, this gameplay is also relevant to the Xbox Series X and PC, so stay tuned for that because we are going to dive into some next generation technology. Of course though, we have plenty of other things to discuss as well, including some major Capcom titles releasing over the next year, another popular franchise is being remastered, and more, so don't go anywhere because you're not going to want to miss all of that. First though, let's go over some of the quick news, and as we all know, this has been a really weird year, and well, that's probably a bit of an understatement, and now that a lot of companies have shifted over to working from home, there are a lot of questions about the future, and gaming is not excluded from this topic. So far, it seems game studios are adapting relatively well, and outside of a few game delays, nothing major seems to have been affected. However, head of Xbox Phil Spencer in an interview with Business Insider noted that for the short term, or games that are far in development, are not necessarily being impacted in a major way. But with that said, he did say that games being released in 2021 and beyond may be impacted by these new work conditions in a more dramatic way. Now, this is something I did not actually think about, but Phil Spencer pointed out that games using things like mocap are being held up because they cannot go to studios and do these type of things. For games that have already finished that part of the game, of course, should be fine, but it's the games that are earlier in development that may be facing these type of issues. In the meantime, they can work on other aspects of the game such as textures or art production, but there are some things that are just not easily achieved at home, which means we may very likely see some major delays beyond 2020. It's unfortunate, but this is the reality of the situation. The game industry will have to work through this, and hopefully everybody will be able to navigate through this tough time. Moving on though, let's talk about some more positive stuff, and yes, there was a new game announced today, which is technically 3 separate games. That's because the Mafia Trilogy was announced, and the really cool thing here is that the first game is a complete remake of Mafia 1, and based off the pictures, it looks amazing. That means we are going to see a huge jump in visual quality. Now, it looks like Mafia 2 and 3 are just remasters, so the premier title here is definitely Mafia 1, but if you want to experience all 3, then this is a great bundle to have, and they are all 3 connected in one way or the other. Now, we haven't seen gameplay just yet, but we will get a full reveal on May 19th, and it will be available on the Xbox One, PlayStation 4, PC, and even Google Stadia. So this is definitely something to be excited for next week when we get that official reveal. Now also, Double Fine announced 3 of their remastered games will be heading over to the Xbox One by the end of 2020. This includes Full Throttle, Day of the Tentacle, and Grimandango, and those last 2 in specific are widely considered to be some of the best point-and-click adventure games to ever be made. The thing is, of course, Double Fine was acquired by Xbox, so this does make a lot of sense to bring over these games to the Xbox platform. They have been available on the PlayStation 4 for quite a while now, so I'm really glad to see Xbox players finally get to enjoy these great games as well. And considering Xbox does own Double Fine, I wouldn't be shocked if these games launch into Xbox Game Pass later this year, but we will have to wait and see on that. I don't want to get too far ahead of this, so we need that official announcement first. In other news, one publisher that has really been on my radar for the last few years because of all the really high quality releases they keep pushing out is Capcom. I mean, they release games like Resident Evil 2, Monster Hunter World, Devil May Cry 5, and the most recent being Resident Evil 3. The thing about all 4 of those games is that many people would consider any one of those games to be a Game of the Year candidate. They really have been that good, and to be completely honest, when you look at games like Resident Evil 3, that's visually one of the most impressive games of the entire generation. It looks excellent with all of the lighting, the phenomenal enemy designs, and yeah, I'm very excited to see what else they can do with their Resident Evil engine. Well, if you were expecting Capcom to slow down even slightly this year, you would be wrong, because during a fiscal year report, they revealed they plan on pushing 28 million units over the next fiscal year, which ends on March 31st, 2021. Now, some of those game sales could end up coming from existing IP like Monster Hunter World, which continues to sell insanely well as it just recently passed 15 million sold worldwide. But Capcom very specifically said that they plan on reaching this 28 million units with multiple major new titles. That's Capcom's words, not mine, which begs the question, what could Capcom possibly release over the next 10 months that could help them achieve this lofty goal? The Resident Evil 4 remake is probably years away, so I'm sure many people are likely not expecting another Resident Evil remake anytime soon, but we have been hearing a lot about a brand new Resident Evil game which is set to be announced here sometime soon. The well-respected insider Dust Golem on multiple occasions has spoken about a new Resident Evil game releasing in 2021, which apparently will be Resident Evil 8. It's supposed to be the darkest, most gruesome Resident Evil game ever, and it will be set in first-person view. Resident Evil 7, of course, was also set in first person, so this isn't necessarily shocking, and it worked really well with Resident Evil 7, so if Resident Evil 8 releases in first person, I'd be okay with that personally, but yeah, I do think that will be one of the major releases. As for the others though, that is a little bit more difficult to say. It could be something Monster Hunter related, maybe they have something planned for the Xbox Series X and the PlayStation 5, maybe another big expansion like Iceborne, but Monster Hunter is a proven big-time seller, so I don't think it would be too surprising if we get something Monster Hunter related, maybe even something on the Switch. You know, I would also love a new Dino Crisis. I've talked about this for a long time. I think that would look excellent in the Resident Evil engine, but according to Dust Golem, that is not a thing. So trying to think of some other big releases that could happen, Capcom does have a lot of big franchises. They have Devil May Cry, Mega Man, Onimusha, Street Fighter, and really the list just goes on, so it's hard to say right now. For all we know, we may end up getting a completely new IP, but I will tell you right now, I'm excited for whatever it is that they do have to show based off of their most recent releases. You know what, actually, one game that I would like to see is a new Dragon's Dogma game. I think Dragon's Dogma has a ton of potential. That is a game that I would like to see a sequel for. Not sure how much of a big time seller it would be, but I would be excited for it. Let me know though, what would you like to see from Capcom? Let me know in the comments below. And speaking of stuff that is exciting, so yeah, we got some brand new in-game footage playing on the PlayStation 5 today. And like I said earlier, it looked stunning. This was a tech demo of Unreal Engine 5, and do keep that in mind, what you see running here is not an actual game, but it is, however, actual gameplay, so that is the exciting part. Now that is the thing though, even though this specific demo was running on the PlayStation 5, it is representative of the Xbox Series X as well as the PC. Based off the interview with Epic Games after the demo, it was very obvious this was a marketing deal with Epic Games and Sony, which is perfectly fine. There is nothing wrong with that, but console warriors need to cool it a bit here. This is multi-platform technology, and that's incredibly exciting for next generation games as a whole. What they showed was very impressive from a visual standpoint, and they talked a lot about their Lumen technology, which is meant to be their solution for light changing or light bouncing around in a more accurate way, and this was very interesting, and I'll explain why. So if you noticed, Epic Games never actually talked about ray tracing, and that might be because Lumen is their lighting technology. This may actually be their type of ray tracing, and that will be very interesting to watch going forward. Ray tracing, as we all know, is very demanding. It's a big feature for next generation, and from a visual standpoint, it looks phenomenal. As for Lumen, we don't know how demanding it will be just yet. I imagine it will be very demanding, but I'm curious if there is any benefits of Lumen over ray tracing. Now that is something that we will have to keep an eye on. They also talked a lot about how Unreal Engine can use movie assets, and they went pretty technical with a lot of the fine-tuning with how you can manipulate triangles with nanite and whatnot, which could rival the likes of CGI in movies. And really, if you just watch this tech demo in motion, it really is that next generational leap that we have all been waiting for. The fact it's running on a next generation console and not a PC though, that is what's so impressive. I really do wish this was an actual game though, because it looks like a lot of fun, and the way it ended with her flying into the distance was not just visually impressive, but it was also a statement for what next generation technology can achieve. Now what do I mean by that? Well, based off of this demo, pop-in will be a thing of the past. To be able to load all that scenery as she's flying into the distance without pop-in is incredible. There was no pop-in that I could see at all, and that is because we will be moving away from mechanical hard drives and we will now have solid-state drives. That does remove pop-in as things just load so much faster, and does show one benefit of solid-state drive technology. That instantaneous loading should theoretically remove any kind of pop-in from this point forward. Now with all that said though, there was one caveat to Unreal Engine 5 that I don't think many people are talking about right now, which is the release date. Unreal Engine 5 will be going into preview early 2021 and will have a full release late in 2021. And that's important because if I'm understanding this correct, developers will not have this in their hands until that time frame. That means that we likely will not see games running Unreal Engine 5 until probably at least 2023 or 2024, unless I misunderstood something, but it doesn't sound like developers have this in their hands just yet. We are probably a ways away from seeing Unreal Engine 5 games in the hands of consumers, but again, this still is very exciting news. It's visually stunning, and I'm sure game developers have to be excited over Unreal Engine 5. This is supposed to be an easier way to do many things for developers. I mean, Unreal Engine 4 is probably the most popular engine right now, and Epic Games knows how to make good engines. For now, as gamers, we get to take a look at what next generation will be capable of, and that is the most important part for us. We are taking a big step forward. It shows why next generation consoles are needed, and this is what I was trying to explain in my video earlier this week. Games that come out at launch for Xbox Series X and the PlayStation 5 will likely not be showcases for what they can do visually. That rarely ever happens with launch games, but in the second, third, and fourth year, we should start to see what these consoles are truly capable of, and I couldn't be more excited to see it for myself. And that was my biggest takeaway today from Unreal Engine 5. Next generation is just going to be such a big step forward. Let me ask you though, what did you think of the Unreal Engine 5 tech demo? Let me know in the comments below. Anyways though, that's it for this episode, but if you liked the video, don't forget to hit the bell notification and subscribe button for more content just like this. Peace out.